Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
Welcome, listeners, to If This Bar Could Talk. We are back in person after a very long time. We are at MOUTON High with Theo Lentz. Theo, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So MOUTON, I think everyone in Columbus knows about MOUTON, but for those who don't live in Columbus, tell us about MOUTON, when it started and its history.
Yeah, so I think we are actually one of the longest standing cocktail bars. We've been here for a little over 11 years now. We've always, tried to serve some of the best craft cocktails in Columbus.
Well,
you do.
Mission accomplished,
Thank you.
And there have been some pretty, I would say, local celebrity bartenders that have gone through here. I'm thinking of Logan Demme and Jillian Smith, just to name a couple. So there have been quite a few big name bartenders through here.
So I just moved here 2 years ago. I never really had the pleasure of working with Logan, but I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Yeah, all true. So how long have you been bartending?
I've been bartending for about 8 years.
Okay.
Oh, wow. And where were you before?
So I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. The first bar that I ever worked in was a speakeasy. It was called Fox Liquor Bar, and it was owned by Ashley Christensen. I don't know if anyone's familiar with her, but she was a James Beard nominated chef. She owned several different bars and restaurants in Raleigh. Beasley's Chicken and Honey was probably her most famous one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So what brought you here?
My ex actually got into OSU's vet program, and I liked it here enough. I feel like the bar community in particular has been very welcoming to me.
So how would you compare the bar community here to North Carolina?
In North Carolina, it was a little bit more male-dominated, and it was more competitive, whereas here I feel like I said, it's more of a community. Whenever I run into other bartenders, it's more like we want to collaborate. We send each other boomerangs, which is like we package up a cocktail in like a container, and we'll be like, hey, you're going to Rue? Oh, send this to Genevieve. I want her to try it, kind of thing. So that's just been really fun and nice.
Yeah, that's good
awesome.
to hear. Yeah, I think that's not just the bartending industry; it's like all industry. That's just Columbus.
Yeah,
and
I have
the
to
spirit,
agree.
the spirit of the city itself. Well, we're so glad you decided to relocate because you make some amazing cocktails.
Thank you.
What's your creative process like?
So it's actually different with every drink that I do. Some I come up with the name first, and I come up with a concept around that name. For example, I have a drink on the menu called Matcha Man, and I just wanted to do something with matcha, and I don't even love the flavor of matcha, but I just thought it would be a fun ingredient to work with. So that drink has bison grass infused vodka, matcha tea, fresh green apple juice, lime, a little bit of sugar, and then Chinese 5-spice.
Bison what now?
It's bison grass infused vodka.
I've never heard of that. What is
It's called Zumbroska, so I didn't infuse the vodka itself, but I got to try that vodka, and I thought it was really unique, and I don't love working with vodka in particular because it's just such a neutral, spirit. I don't find it very fun or interesting, but this particular spirit, I was like, there's actually a lot of funky flavors in here, kind of grassy, earthy. That's what I felt like would go good with the matcha.
Interesting. I've never heard of that ingredient.
No, me either. So then in your other things, how do you approach the creative part of creating a cocktail?
So sometimes I will get an idea, I'll be sleeping and I'll just wake up and be like, wow, coconut infused scotch sounds really good, and I'll just do something like that, and then think of what other flavor profiles might go with coconut infused scotch. Some drinks that I make, they just come out perfect initially. Other times I have to do 10 different variations of something to find the one that I feel like is really well balanced.
So when you have a dream and then you wake up and you actually make that cocktail, who do you bounce those off of? Who's your taster?
A couple of my coworkers. Yeah. I mean, we have a very small staff here, so there's only 4 of us total, which is really nice, honestly.
So do your coworkers also get to have input on what goes on the menu?
Yeah, so most of the drinks are mine. Some of them have been like collaborations with me and another bartender, or I like to give my staff free range. Like if they have ideas, I'm always open to them and we can collaborate, or again with them, sometimes they get it right on the first try and it's really nice.
So then do you guys just kind of stand around and taste and then say, oh, this needs a little more something?
Or this is ready to go on a menu? Or,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So currently on your cocktail board, you have a cocktail with beet shrub. I love a shrub, but shrubs, if they're not made right, can just taste like vinegar with flavoring. How do you make the perfect shrub?
Usually, depending on like what the herb or vegetable or fruit that you're putting into it, I think equal parts sugar and vinegar can be like a well balance. And also depending on which kind of vinegar you use. Obviously, like distilled white vinegar is going to be the strongest vinegar. I like champagne vinegar a lot. It's a lighter flavor, almost a little bit like fruitier, more like wine, not so much of like a harsh vinegar taste to it.
And then generally in most cocktails, how much of a shrub do you put in it?
Not a whole lot. I like to cut shrubs with soda water because I feel like that kind of brings out the flavor and makes it not so much of a pungent vinegar flavor. I would never do more than half an ounce. A lot of times I do like a quarter to a half ounce if there's not going to be a soda water in there. If I do soda water, maybe like 3/4 to 1 ounce.
So it's more than you would use bitters.
Yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned you don't love working with vodka because it's a neutral spirit. Is there a spirit that you prefer to work with over another?
Yeah, gin's my favorite spirit.
Why is that?
There's so many botanicals that go into it, so much work. And I love, I could pick out notes of juniper or coriander and someone else picks up like citrus peel or strawberry or any other kind of flavor. There's just so many like herbs that go into it and even each variety of gin is so different and unique in itself. And I find that it's a mild enough flavor. It's not like overwhelming like a whiskey might be to some people. And I know some people have like, bad memories of, I took gin in college, I took shots of gin and now I can't stand it kind of thing. And I'm like, well, maybe you never had a good gin.
Yeah. And do you have a preferred style of gin? London Dry or American or...
I can't say that I do.
No,
Yeah, I like them all.
You just like it all.
So when you're dreaming up a cocktail and you want it to be gin, there's so many different varieties of gin. Like, do you really have to think about which... Because I know, like, Femme and Petal is very different than Tanqueray 10. Like, do you have to then decide what flavor profiles of the gin you want to...
Yeah, I do. For example, like I put a cucumber martini on the menu and it has a cucumber shrub in it. And I use Hendrick's with that one because, Hendrick's is known for being more like cucumber, rose, kind of light floral flavors. And I feel like, that went well with the cucumber shrub versus I like to use Roku gin in more savory drinks. I actually like to infuse Roku gin with peppercorn because I feel like it brings out more of the savory notes in it.
Okay. So when you say you're infusing a spirit with peppercorns, does that mean you're just throwing a bunch of peppercorn in a bottle and leaving it for a while? Or
Yeah, I do. I like to experiment with all different kinds of infusions because you never know what you're going to get.
Now, this is a privately owned bar,
Yes.
correct? And so do the owners give you carte blanche on whatever you want to...
Yeah, he's actually living in California right now. He's a nurse, and so he took a position out of state just to kind of see how it goes. And I pretty much have free range here, which, I really value. I'm able to do whatever I want within reason, and he trusts me, and it's a really great relationship.
That's awesome. And you are located in the heart of the Short North in Columbus. We've heard a lot recently about how it's been getting kind of violent down here at night. Have you experienced any issues with the late night violence?
Yeah, I have actually. This was about a year ago, but we had, a homeless woman come in, and I think she was strung out on some kind of drugs, and she came in, just asked for a shot. We gave it to her. She paid for it. Then she started lifting her shirt up, trying to show someone her tattoo. And this was actually when Jill was still in charge, and Jill was like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask you to leave. Please don't do that, because it got to the point where she was just walking around different tables and kind of harassing people. She got very upset, was like, don't tell me what to do. I'm not done with my shot or whatever. And we're like, okay, that's fine. We don't want to have to escalate the situation. And she's like, call the cops. I don't care. Call the cops. And we're like, we don't want to do that. So she ended up picking up a bar stool, was chasing Jill around the building. We don't have a back door, so there was nowhere for her to go. She ended up throwing something against one of our lights. The light shattered above a customer's table. For me, I was the one making the drinks at the time, and I felt like the best thing for me to do was just to remain calm, because if I started freaking out, everybody else is going to start freaking out.
Right.
And some people were getting scared and they were hiding behind the bar. Other people were just kind of laughing or trying to get her to calm down, but it was a scary situation. And after that, we did get pepper spray behind the bar, because there are nights where I'm by myself, and it can be a little bit scary. A guest actually ended up escorting her essentially and getting her to go outside. We locked the doors, which in turns we kind of had to hold people hostage, because like I said, there's no other way out. But we needed to make sure that we were safe. Everyone in here was safe. Our building was safe. She ended up trying to pick up a city trash can. She got a scooter off the street and was banging it heavily against our windows.
Oh my gosh.
It was scary. People were screaming. We didn't know how to react.
Yeah.
I had another guy come in here and start asking people for money, and I was like, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And then, he started calling me derogatory terms, yelling names and stuff. Eventually, he ended up just leaving, but there are definitely times where I'm like, this isn't good, and there's not really anybody that can help.
Right.
That one incident, we tried calling the cops, they're like, we only come when there's a weapon, or was there a gun? And we're like, this woman was a weapon. Her body and anything she could pick up was a weapon. We tried calling the Short North Alliance, or I forget what it's called, but they're supposed to be
their
the
safety
person you call. And they were like, we don't have anybody on duty right now. We went down to Seesaw, because they often have a security guard there, and they're like, we can't help, we're hired by this company to stay here. So it felt like we were really helpless. And even over an hour later, multiple customers had called the cops, employees called the cops. No one came, and we called hours later, and we're like, hey, no one came. And they're like, oh, well, we assumed, it's over with now. And we're like, well, we want to just file a report for our damaged property so we can, do an insurance claim.
That's so shitty and stupid.
It is.
How do you know? Maybe she did have a gun, just didn't pull it out yet.
Right.
What are you supposed to pat people down when they're acting like maniacs?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. You would think that the cops would be on that in here,
I know,
protecting,
especially
the
in this area.
Yeah.
In the evening.
That's
I never see them.
They know that shit happens. So.
Yeah.
Was that late night, or was it?
No, I think it was a Saturday night, and it was, maybe 10 or 11. It wasn't 2 in the morning or something where you would maybe expect more wild things to happen.
Wow. I assume she hasn't been back.
She has. She hasn't come in here, but that's another issue actually. Oftentimes I'm coming in to open, and it's 4 o'clock, and there's someone sleeping on our stoop. And she was actually sleeping on the stoop a couple of weeks ago, and I was, scared. I was just like, I don't want to have to deal with this. She was very nice. She, was just like, hey, I'm, getting ready to open. And she's like, oh, I apologize. Like, I thought you guys were shut down. And I'm like, the building next to us is out of business at the moment. You can go over there if you want, but yeah, I've got to get open.
She probably forgot the whole thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, she had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's the thing, a lot of it, I think, is mental health, and there's no, solution or place for these people to go when they maybe need medication or just someone to talk to, and people probably don't treat them very well.
Sheesh.
That's the part of being a bartender that must really suck, is you've got to police your guests, sort of. I mean, you're responsible for not over serving them and protecting them against other crazy people like that. That's a lot for people to have to take on.
Yeah, and over serving someone is always a tricky situation, because you don't want to offend someone, and you have to word it just right, because someone who has been drinking too much tends to get defensive and think you're trying to call them out, and it's never a fun thing to have to do.
Yeah. So back to your menu, how often do you change your menu?
We do it seasonally, so yeah, about 4 times a year.
So what do you do for winter time? What's your winter? Is it more baking spice forward stuff, or?
So I actually love, shaken drinks with citrus. So I try to always incorporate at least a couple of those, because, for me and a lot of other people, winter can often come with seasonal depression. And I find drinking something bright and light and uplifting kind of changes my mood a little bit. Obviously, with it being cold out, we do have 2 smoked drinks on the menu. We'll probably offer something hot. Like last year, I did a drink with Watershed barrel-aged gin, chartreuse, and Cointreau, and then it had hot chocolate and marshmallows on top of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, people really loved that. We get people asking for hot toddies and stuff like that. We can always do that. Gingerbread. I did one last year with a spiced sweet potato infusion. It was like an old-fashioned with black walnut bitters. That went over really well.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
It's interesting that what you said about seasonal affective disorder. It's a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely here in Columbus, where it's gray. I mean, we're lucky today. It's a very sunny, beautiful Sunday, but normally it's gray and cold, and that's
Shitty.
really smart.
That's the one thing I don't like about Columbus, honestly.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both
it's a
transplants
bummer.
as well.
Even with the blinds, in the summer, we open them halfway until later on in the evening when the sun sets around 8 or 9, and now it's might as well just open them all the way, because, no sunlight's coming in here.
Nope.
Right. So are there any trends on the horizon that you know of, like the smoking trend, anything?
Yeah. After watching, what is the Master Bartender show on Netflix?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, I watched it. It was actually really good, more impressive than I thought it would be. They refer to something that they call air a lot, and I think it's like foam on top of a drink that, they're whipping certain ingredients. They obviously have more ingredients than we have here because we don't have a kitchen, and I imagine a lot of other cocktail bars, they don't either. But I think we're moving towards more like gastro things with cocktails. A lot of people are using citric acid, malic acid, all different kinds of acids to create what they call super citrus, I think it's called. But instead of using citrus, lemons and limes are getting expensive. People are creating citrus juice essentially with acid and the peels of limes or lemons. I personally don't think I love that. Maybe I'm just old school and, I prefer the taste of fresh citrus, but it's always still an interesting concept to see what other people are working on.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How did you learn to be a bartender?
So I went to culinary school for a while. I ended up getting a degree in hospitality management just because I, I do want to open up my own bar eventually, so I felt like that would benefit me more in the long run. But I managed a crepe shop for 5 years. I was a barista for 5 years, or longer than that, actually. I worked at a bakery / coffee shop during the day that turned into like a dessert bar / cocktail bar at night. And so I worked during the day, and I was just looking at all the different liquor bottles because it was very slow, and I was bored, and I was like, this sounds interesting. And then I heard about Bar Smarts, the course you can take online to like learn more about spirits and just kind of get your foot in the door. So I did that, and I started educating myself essentially. And then Fox Liquor Bar, the place that I started bartending at, was across the street, and I ended up getting a job there. And it was a very prestigious bar at the time. So I started out bar backing, and then I became a server, and then I became a bartender. But the process was very intense. There was someone like the person who trained me, who I considered my mentor for years. Like, I learned so much from him. They would stand over you really and be like, you're not stirring that long enough, you didn't crack that ice. They wanted your jigger to be like filled up to the T, where like if you move the wrong way it's gonna pour over. And a lot of those things have stuck with me because there is a science to it. There's formulas you can stick to, like classic structures like daiquiri, Negroni, old-fashioned, Manhattan, sour structure. And so I stick to these structures and then just do different variations off of them. And you can get creative and still know that your cocktail's going to be well-balanced.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Do we want to break here and have her make us a cocktail?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Do you want to
Sure.
look at the menu and see what you think sounds good?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Sure.
do that.
Let's see here. So you got original cocktails first. We definitely want to do an original, and then you've got a.
So they're technically all original. I thought it would be fun this time to break the menu up into, originals that can be off the wall or whatever we want them to be, and then our take on classics. Because, I understand it's important to have drinks that are familiar to people, that they feel comfortable with, that they've maybe had before. But I kind of wanted to take those and make people branch out a little bit further. And it can still be like a familiar flavor or concept, but just elevating it a little bit.
Very cool. So I see you have non-alcoholic drinks as well. Are those fun to develop, or?
They are, yeah. I actually, one of my best friends doesn't drink alcohol, and she's kind of my inspiration in some senses, because I want to be able to create drinks for her and everybody else who, doesn't partake in alcohol. And I want people to come here and feel like it's a welcome place for everybody, and we're putting just as much thought and time and effort into their drink as we are anyone else's drink.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love alcohol, but sometimes I just don't feel like an
same.
alcoholic drink. Yeah.
Or, maybe you want it for whatever reason. Someone may be
Right.
pregnant and not want their friends to know,
Right.
or, recovering, or just not, or be a designated driver, or whatever the case is.
Yeah. And it's great to have those on the menu, because I feel like people feel like they can't go to a bar if they don't drink.
Exactly.
And that's a bummer, because,
Yeah.
everybody wants to be social.
And it's more than just like a ginger ale with, lime juice or whatever.
Right.
Like, I do put a lot of time and effort into creating these syrups.
Very cool. I think I'm going to try the Puff Daddy, which is Vita Mezcal, Ancho Reyes Verde, lemon, sweet corn, and popcorn.
That's a really fun drink, yeah.
Sounds fun. I love popcorn.
I think I'll try the fungi fashion.
Yeah, sure. Matches my shirt.
Yes, it does.
Fungi.
Fungi. So the fungi fashion has shiitake mushroom infused baller whiskey, sherry, sage, maple, and black walnut bitters. Really interesting.
crack up. That's so awesome.
So I will say, the most fun part of this drink I'm actually out of at the moment. So it usually comes with a popcorn ball, and it looks like a brain on the pufferfish mug. But, you know,
That's
it's
so cute. Where do you find things like this?
on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so good.
Thank you.
So
is this.
flavorful.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
But the great thing is I can still taste the mezcal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hiding behind ingredients.
Right.
It's just like the star of the show. So
This
good.
is deep. You would love that. The mushroom does come out. I didn't know that it would. very
So the
much.
whiskey itself actually tastes like mushrooms to me. It has a very umami flavor, and that's what gave me the idea to, you know, elevate that flavor and make it taste even more like
Right,
umami. And that
right.
was the thought process behind that cocktail. And then I was thinking, like, you know, what would go with mushroom flavors, and that's where I got the maple, the black walnut, the sage especially.
That's amazing.
That's
Thank
so
you.
good.
That is a very, very tasty cocktail. Well done, lady.
Thanks.
Can you talk a little bit about the food that you have?
Yeah, so we just brought charcuterie and cheese boards back, and then we have snacks like almonds, corn nuts, olives, Parmesan crisps. I know we've done different food options in the past. People have been asking us to bring back the charcuterie plate. It's just 3 different cheeses and meats, and then a little bit of olives on the plate, some crackers and breadsticks.
We'll have a good charcuterie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, the ice is clear. Are you making your own here, or are
We
you buying
do,
it?
yeah.
You do make it.
Which is a tedious process in itself. I think it was Logan actually that came up with this insulated mechanism, basically. So there's a tray that has holes in it that drains all of because the impurities in ice will, you know, float down to the bottom. So we basically take that layer off. We're still using molds, but we have to take like the whole container out and then let it defrost. And it's kind of a mix between molds and carving the ice, because we do have to, you know, take the bottom layer of it off and form the cubes that way.
Who, in the bartending industry, who inspired you?
Good question. Now I think I am inspired by the Drink Masters show, because there were a lot of talented bartenders on there before this. I can't say like any particular people. I do subscribe to the Imbibe magazine just to kind of keep up with, you know, what's going on. There's obviously like really good books. A few of the books by Death and Company I've really loved and have read. I think those are my favorite books. The Aviary in Chicago. I just went there for the first time for my birthday in July, but you know, they
Cool
were
space, right?
Yeah, I followed them for years, and that was a cool experience.
Very cool. So I'm going to share this because our listeners don't know and you don't know. I actually wrote a pilot for a TV show called Behind the Stick, and it's almost exactly like the show on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so I did copyright it, and I registered it with the Screenwriters Guild of America. So when we watched the show, I was like, oh my God, this is my show.
Yeah.
Except that my show actually has more of a history component to it. It talks more about the history of the spirits and the cocktails themselves. So I was like, I'm not sure what I should do. So I called my lawyer, and as it turns out, it doesn't matter that I copyrighted the script. The only recourse that I would have is if I could prove that they stole it from me, which they didn't steal it from me.
Right.
You know, everybody has an idea of it. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll probably still make my show at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we rehearsed down at Harvest in Clintonville. We had a cast. We had bartenders. We had judges.
We just couldn't afford to make
Yeah, we just couldn't afford to make
pilot.
the pilot. So
That actually brings up an interesting topic for me. You know, plagiarism in general, just like where you draw the line with that, and like how do you know if someone's copying your cocktail or your ingredients? Because like something that I thought was super unique, you know, a bar down the street is doing, and I'm like, is it a coincidence or is it like?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've just always found that concept interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard because as you know, I look at it as a creative person.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a designer, so you start seeing your shit around town, and you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that was mine.
Or like I managed at a place, the last place I managed in Raleigh, I had the owner contact me and be like, hey, I want your recipes for this. I'm putting it back on the menu. And I was like, you know, I'm sorry, but I feel like those are that's my art. I might want to use it here. You know, I might want to publish it somewhere. Like those are that's my intellectual property, basically.
Yeah.
And she got very upset and like threatened to call a lawyer and was like, well, it's my bar, you know, I can do whatever I want. And I'm like,
Good
okay,
luck.
great. But it ended up like destroying the relationship with
Yeah.
me and this bar owner, and
Yeah.
I thought that we were friends.
Because the bar
That's
owner
a shame.
would think that they employed you while
Right.
you were creating that, so it's a tough call.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no real, you know, rules or guidelines when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's just important to give people credit where it's
Yeah.
due. You know,
Right.
like I've always admired menus that are like have the name of the bartender underneath that
Yeah.
created this recipe, or you know, just giving credit to chefs and bartenders and the people who are creating the things that people really love instead of the owner who's just kind of sitting back and making money off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But then there's like we published a cocktail book during COVID, and it was all of our fan favorite cocktails, and so there's that too. Like, I mean, we did give all the proceeds to the bartenders in the book,
And we
Yeah.
did recognize them in the book.
Well, and you
definitely,
asked them
definitely.
for the recipes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And credited them.
Yeah, you're not saying like
Yeah.
I wrote this book.
Yeah, there's a big difference
Right.
between highlighting someone in their work and
And
just
ripping them off.
Which
them
makes
off.
those people feel proud, you know?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure they're like, wow, look at this, you know, I'm in this
I'm
book.
in a book.
And that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll do a volume 2 very soon.
Yeah.
So is there any story, you told us the scary stories, are there any throughout your history as a bartender, just some really great stories, something that just stuck with you?
Made you
No.
laugh or made you cringe or whatever.
Yeah, nothing I can think of like that sticks out majorly. Just something that I really enjoy is, you know, when I'm behind the bar and I'm not out on the floor and I'm not the person like talking to people, my staff is really supportive, and you know, someone will be like, wow, this drink is really awesome, and then you know, they'll be like, oh, Theo made that, and like vice versa. But I overhear people saying, you know, all the time, this is the best drink I've ever had, and that makes me feel so good.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Highest compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're building a cocktail and your guests are asking you questions, have you ever like mismeasured or forgotten, or are you just so like used to it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I can get distracted when I'm talking to somebody or thinking about something else, but I will say I'm pretty precise, and I can tell just by the way a drink looks, you know, oh, I forgot the matcha, it's not super green, it must be missing something, it's, you know, it's not red, it's missing this ingredient kind of thing. And I'm big on straw testing. If I'm questioning, you know, anything, if it doesn't look right, I'll straw test it. And I just do that occasionally. Even every time I make a new syrup, I'll pour a little bit of it in a glass just to make sure, you know, it's consistent and it tastes the way it did yesterday.
Like a chef, they wouldn't serve you food without.
Yeah, I think that's
Tasting it.
important.
Yeah. Very
Yeah, that's
cool.
huge.
So, if you own your own bar, is there something that you would do differently than the ownership that you've been involved with in your career?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons that I do love working here, because the owner is, you know, he gives me complete free range because he realizes, you know, we're the people who are creating the menus, so we should be able to do it however we want. But I try to lead by example with management style, and I think that's why my staff respects me and why they've been here for so long, even though it may not be the best paying job, because we have nights where we are really slow. I've worked for people who are never present. I've worked for people who micromanage, and I like to, I'll be in the bathroom unclogging the toilet on a Saturday night because that's what needs to be done, and I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself, and I think that's important.
Oh, well said.
Yeah.
So, Theo, can you tell us what the hours are here and if you have a happy hour?
Yeah, so we open at 5 Wednesday through Sunday. We do happy hour from 5 to 6 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and all day on Sunday. So it's $10 for all of our take-on classics, which is an amazing deal. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we have, smoked old-fashioned, like all kinds of things on there that are a really good deal.
Where can people follow you? Instagram?
Yeah,
or-
me personally.
Yeah.
So I actually have my own Instagram that's based off of, the craft cocktails that I make, and it's _apothecary_NC.
Do you love being a bartender?
I can't imagine doing anything else, honestly.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, there's so many elements about it that I
Yeah.
love.
Very cool. Well, Theo, it's been a blast getting to know you.
Thanks, same.
Thanks so much for being on our podcast. And listeners, get to MOUTON. All their
Geez,
cocktails
any
are
of the
fabulous.
cocktails.
They're just so wonderful and thoughtful and just well executed. And remember to tip 30%, not 20%. That's so old, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Theo.
Yeah, thank you so
Cheers.
much. Cheers.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour. Visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, special events, merchandise, and if you're looking for a gift for that special person in your life, get them a gift card to our cocktail tour. Thank you to the biographer for our original music. And please remember to drink responsibly and be cocktail curious. Cheers.
This has been a Last Call Productions production.